Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I'm an intuitive artist and a student of natural law, and I'm still going through the consensus document, as I will be for quite some time, because I'm interested in using formal consensus to create groups that are horizontal in nature rather than dictatorships. So we're still in chapter 3, and I'm going to try and get through these last 3 items in this video. These are impediments to consensus. So the first one is lack of training. It is necessary to train people in the theory and practice of consensus. Until consensus is a common form of decision-making in our society, new members will need some way of learning about the process. It is important to offer regular opportunities for training. If learning about formal consensus is not easily accessible, it will limit full participation and create inequities which undermine this process. Also, training provides opportunities for people to improve their skills, particularly facilitation skills, in a setting where experimentation and role plays can occur. So that's very interesting. It's a very interesting idea. Perhaps we could do some role playing or classes in formal consensus if I find that I start hearing as a result of doing this video that people are interested in doing that. That also might take away some of the stigma against it. External hierarchical structures is another impediment to formal consensus. It can be difficult for a group to reach consensus internally when it is a part of a larger group which does not recognize or participate in the consensus process. It can be extremely frustrating if those external to the group can disrupt the decision-making by interfering with the process by pulling rank. Therefore, it is desirable for individuals and groups to recognize that they can be autonomous in relation to external power if they are willing to take responsibility for their actions. I think the external power that we would be experiencing would be our stupid government. And so that would probably be fine after we learned how to do it. Because we're all considered domestic terrorists anyway now, aren't we? The third, this is the most important one, I think, is social prejudice. It says everyone has been exposed to biases, assumptions, and prejudices which interfere with the spirit of cooperation and equal participation. All people are influenced by these attitudes, even though they may deplore them. So that's the mind control that we're under. People are not generally encouraged to confront these prejudices in themselves or others. So in other words, we just talk about other people's prejudices behind their back. We don't confront our own, and therefore we externalize them or cast them into the shadow, and then they come out in a group process. Members of a group often reflect social biases without realizing or attempting to confront and change them. Exactly. That's what I just said about when you're in the group and it's so frustrating and you're so angry because you know the answer for the group because you think you know the answer, which is a dictatorship. But it's like a physical volcano inside your body and you just want to explode. That's when you have to go back to the inner monarchy and find a way to be patient and tolerant and kind and loving towards your brothers and sisters. And also, like, just to recognize that it's social conditioning that's making you have that, because the only way to have the volcano is because I would believe I know the answer for other people, and therefore that's me believing that I'm a benevolent dictator, which is impossible. members of a group, oh no, I think I read that already. If the group views a prejudicial attitude as just one individual's problem, then the group will not address the underlying social attitudes which create such problems. So this is shadow work right here. Because if the group views a prejudicial attitude as the problem of society and not one individual's problem, then we can do some shadow work and work through it. But if it's thrown onto one person, which is what we tend to do. Like, I mean, I just heard this the other day from a group that disbanded or fragmented, and another group from another area blames one person for that, when it's actually not that. It's actually because the group, no groups have been using horizontal communication and decision making. So you just find one person to be the leader in the beginning, and all goes well for a time, and then eventually you blame that person for all the problems that are going on in the group, and then that person is cast out. So that's what they're talking about. So that group did not do their shadow work. They just blamed the original founder and split. What that means is it's going to come out again in the next group that they try to do. And then someone else will be the leader, and then that person will be blamed and cast out, and either the people will become frustrated or they will go and start another group in which they get to be the dictator. And it just carries on. It is appropriate to expose, confront, acknowledge, and attempt to resolve socially prejudicial attitudes, but only in the spirit of mutual respect and trust. I mean, I just don't even know if we know how to do that. So that's why I'm really still interested in doing some trauma work with the group members, so that we can build some trust with each other and some respect. And then when we get into a group's decision-making process, we might be able to figure out how to confront, expose, acknowledge, and attempt to resolve prejudicial attitudes in the spirit of mutual respect and trust, because we have to have that to begin with. And when I don't feel like we have that right now, as proven by how we behave on social media. Members are responsible for acknowledging when their attitudes are influenced by disruptive social training and for changing them. Well, that will take a great deal of self-awareness. Really, I mean, I'm not sure that we're there right now. I don't know if everyone has that level of self-awareness, where members are responsible for acknowledging when their attitudes are influenced by disruptive social training. That's basically like, I mean, basically what it looks like is this: if you feel angry at someone or angry at a situation, I think I've talked about this before, 3 fingers pointing back at you. So that's the indication of the trigger. And then you have to look at yourself, like you have to figure out why you're angry at the situation or the people. And then you have to see what they're doing, how you do what they're doing. And you have to do that like right then on the spot, so that you don't, just react to the situation. Because what they're saying is members are responsible for their own shadow work. That's what they're basically saying. And so rather than acting it out, they're saying that members have to, maybe step out and take a break and figure out what's going on with them before they come back in, so that they don't take their disruptive social training out on others. When a supportive atmosphere for recognizing and changing undesirable attitudes exists, the group as a whole benefits. I just don't know if we have any clue of how to do this. I mean, it may mean that we have like a mediator or someone who's trained in mediation be the facilitator, or someone who's neutral, someone who can navigate the subject matter and understand that understand the underlying reality that the ends do not justify the means. It's not what we do, but how we do it. And so that person would facilitate rather than participate. And they would have to be able to be neutral. They would have to be able to set aside their likes and dislikes of others in the group to be able to facilitate a supportive atmosphere. And that would model for people how to become this lessons. Because that's how the group would grow spiritually. I mean, the people in the group would have to start to think about the group as a spiritual entity, and that our main goal is not what we think it is right now. Like right now, we think our main goal is to homestead or permaculture or prep or barter or you know figure out how we're gonna keep our guns, or any number of a long list of needs that we think we have right now, that we think are the most important thing as government begins to surveil and encroach upon us. But what this is saying is that this is the real main purpose of the group, is to have a spiritual experience together by learning how to be tolerant, kind, loving, and supportive, and shed all social programming. So you'd have to come to realize that as a reality, because if a group is a spiritual entity and can evolve spiritually together through like the most difficult feelings and thoughts and desires, then they will truly be united and will not, they'll be a force to be reckoned with then. But and only then, because having all those other things in place, if we're not united, they can easily be taken from us, as shown by the Native Americans, because like the Native Americans basically had this type of decision-making process in the Longhouse. That's basically what they did in the Longhouse. And a lot of this stuff comes from, a lot of the stuff in the Iroquois, in the formal consensus comes from the Iroquois Confederacy, but they were still not united. All the tribes were not united, and that's how they were taken over by us when we came here. So it just shows like the most important thing is unity.